Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're stepping away from, the usual historical texts or data reports. Our focus is on a single, really quite powerful piece of poetry, the Ballad of the Midnight Dancer.
Oh,
Yeah, so our source material this time is excerpts from this ballad by W.N. Werthunga, and they lay out this deeply emotional story. The big question we're digging into is what actually happens when, well, the cosmic meets the mortal in this kind of secret nighttime ritual, and how does this lone individual suddenly get tasked with a cosmic mission? It's a story about devotion, definitely, but also about theft on a grand scale and the pain of separation.
exactly. And the narrative really hinges on these two figures. They're connected by dance, but also by this profound sorrow of being apart. You've got the mortal dancer, who's seen as solitary, maybe a bit eccentric, and then you have Nataraja, the god Shiva, as the cosmic dancer. Immensely powerful, yet in this story, he's completely stuck, paralyzed by loss. The real heart of it is the pain, the physical ache when these divine partners are ripped apart.
That really does set the stakes high right from the start, doesn't it? Suggests even, well, infinite beings aren't immune to that kind of pain. Okay, let's unpack this. So the plan is, first, we'll look at the mortal dancer's world, that lonely ritual. Then we'll explore the god's plea and the tragedy behind it. And finally, we'll see how this mortal gets saddled with this incredibly dangerous, life-changing cosmic job. So starting with the mortal dancer. The poem makes their isolation really clear immediately. The ritual happens alone at night, which, the poem tells us, is why the locals whispered, "They said I was mad." So this isn't some kind of public celebration. It's private, maybe even desperate, happening in a very specific, hidden place.
And that setting. We need to pause on that for a second. It's packed with symbolism. They're dancing under the old banyan tree with moonlight dripping white. The banyan, that's a symbol of ancient endurance, right? With its sprawling roots living for ages. It's like this silent, timeless witness watching the dance. It's not just scenery. It's just the ritual is connecting to something really deep, something eternal, even if the dancer doesn't know who's watching, cosmically speaking.
Yeah, and it gives us that beautiful, almost sad image. The mortal's shadow twirling slow,
Right.
like they're holding a partner that only dreams could know. It's the very picture of dancing for someone or something that isn't there.
That's exactly it. Before any divine stuff happens, the dance itself is already about longing. It's like they're acting out this need for connection, for something whole that they feel is missing but can't quite touch. So their lonely ritual is actually maybe unintentionally preparing them spiritually, physically, getting them ready for the huge weight that's about to land on them.
It's quite poignant, isn't it? The person feeling utterly alone is being watched by a god who feels maybe even more separated. And the poem shifts focus here, quite dramatically, from the mortal's little world to this divine watcher. And we realize the isolation isn't just the mortal's feeling, it's mirrored on this cosmic level. The watcher is Nataraja, the cosmic dancer. He's at the shrine beyond the lake. But here's the first real jolt in the poem. He's not depicted as, calm and detached. Yes, he's golden, signifying his divinity, but his eyes of bronze were weeping, and his heart began to ache. He's sighing. This isn't the usual image of untouchable power. It's pain. It's specific, localized grief.
That image, weeping bronze, it's stunning, isn't it? It just shatters any idea of the god being above it all, makes Nataraja's suffering feel completely real, relatable. Bronze is meant to be lasting, strong, but here it's like grief has just overcome it. And then he calls out to the mortal, not with the booming voice, but through their dreams. His voice is described as a whispered flame, so intimate yet powerful.
And he identifies himself. I am Nataraja, the cosmic dancer. What's fascinating here is the contradiction he immediately throws out. He's the ultimate symbol of cosmic movement, the universe's rhythm.
Right.
But then he says here, I am a prisoner.
And this is where we really have to stop and think about what that means. Nataraja's cosmic dance, it's what keeps the universe going, creation, destruction, the whole cycle. For him to say he's imprisoned, it suggests the entire cosmic order is out of whack. The engine has seized up. It's not just sadness he's feeling, it's like cosmic paralysis. The poem seems to be saying that even a god like him can be completely shut down by loss.
Okay, but hold on. If he's powerful enough to send his voice like a whispered flame across a lake and into dreams, why doesn't he just go get his partner back himself? Why hand this huge cosmic job over to this lone mortal, someone the village thinks is mad?
That's the core puzzle the ballad presents, isn't it? And the answer seems tied to how he's confined. He's a god who exists as part of a pair, in tandem. His power is about motion, about that divine partnership working together. The circuit has to be complete. Because they're separated, the part of him that could act the dynamic outward force is basically frozen. All that's left mobile is his pain, his sorrow, the weeping, the aching heart. And that's what he uses. That's the energy he can send out to reach the mortal.
So his powerlessness is directly linked to the loss itself. And then we find out what that loss is. Nataraja talks about his partner, Tara. He says they dance through stars and fire. I mean, that's the grandest possible image of partnership, right? Yeah. Universal, dynamic.
And the contrast that follows is just brutal. This perfect cosmic dance, this universal rhythm, shattered. And by what? Human actions. Nataraja says, men have torn her far away and left me lone desire. Okay, so the separation wasn't fate. It wasn't some celestial falling out. It was a deliberate, violent removal by men.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the poem doesn't just leave it as some abstract loss. It gives Tara a very specific physical location, a place defining her imprisonment. She now sleeps in glass and silence in London's frozen light.
That contrast is the absolute emotional core of this whole thing, going from dancing through stars and fire, limitless cosmic energy, to being stuck in glass and silence in a cold, faraway city. It's the ultimate violation. It turns the divine into an object, the sacred into something static, something just to be looked at.
And choosing London. That feels incredibly specific, very pointed. It hints strongly at the critique embedded in the ballad, doesn't it? Suggests Tara's probably stuck in a museum case or maybe a private collection somewhere. The frozen light, the glass and silence, those are descriptors of a curated, contained display.
Exactly. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the actions of these men, they haven't just stolen some artifact. They've actually broken a vital divine ecosystem. Tara's confinement in that frozen light doesn't just trap her. It traps Nataraja, too. His weeping, his imprisonment, it's a direct consequence of this massive cosmic imbalance, all driven by human greed. That lone desire he mentions, maybe it's his desire for her, but maybe it's also human desire for possessing things. The poem is basically arguing that ripping something powerful out of its context has universal repercussions.
Wow, so he's a cosmic dancer who literally can't do his job because his partner is an exhibit somewhere else. Which brings us back full circle to the mortal dancer, the one who started out just dancing alone, maybe looking a bit eccentric under a tree, suddenly finds themselves right in the middle of this epic cosmic rescue mission. Nataraja gives this command, and it's got two parts. First, the practical, almost impossible task. Find her, bring her home to me again. I mean, how is one lone person supposed to do that? But until that happens, there's this immediate duty, a duty of comfort almost, a spiritual job to keep the rhythm going somehow.
And that immediate duty is, well, agonizing. It's a huge sacrifice. Till then, my mortal dancer, please dance away my pain. The mortal has to become like a temporary vessel for all the gods' grief. It completely changes the dance. It's not private devotion anymore. It's painful cosmic service.
And the description of experiencing this new dance, it's immediate, overwhelming, kind of terrifying. The mortal feels Nataraja's presence, his breath in air, his unseen arms surrounded me, and crucially, his sorrow everywhere. So that lonely ritual is now completely filled with the god's essence, but that comes the weight of all his cosmic grief.
And the dance itself becomes vast, almost too much to bear. Nataraja drew me into darkness and spun me through the wind, and it results in the sound of the earth and heaven cry. The mortal isn't just tracing patterns with their shadow anymore. They're channeling cosmic agony, performing this violent, maybe redemptive dance that feels like it's shaking reality itself.
That's the complete transformation, isn't it? The mortal is now effectively the god's stand-in on earth. And the village whispers confirm it. They don't call a dancer mad anymore. Instead, they speak softly, acknowledging, he dances with Nataraja's soul in rhythms none may know. The mortal has inherited the god's mission, yes, but also his wounded spirit.
Yeah, the synthesis here is just so powerful. The whole story pivots on this incredible, almost unbelievable burden placed on one ordinary person. It really speaks to the power of devotion and how sometimes the most unlikely person can step up to try and fix a catastrophe, especially a cosmic tragedy that stems entirely from human interference, from that acquisitive drive. The message feels pretty clear. Sometimes the biggest spiritual problems need the most humble, dedicated fixes.
It's a deeply moving story, and a challenging one, too. I think the key takeaway from this ballad is how it just pulls back the curtain on divine power. It shows that even cosmic beings can be brought to a standstill by loss, by separation, and that the chance for redemption, or even for hope to continue, might depend entirely on the commitment of one solitary figure, someone who just dared to dance alone under a banyan tree.
And that really leaves a profound question for you, the listener, now that you understand the weight of this separation. What does it really mean for men, for humanity, to tear away something sacred and lock it up in frozen light? The poem implies that possessing something sacred can imprison the divine itself, can throw the universe off balance.
Exactly. So when you encounter objects, powerful objects, culturally significant objects that have been removed from their original homes, when you see them displayed in that glass and silence, does understanding this story, this history of displacement, place any kind of responsibility on you, now that you can see the potential cosmic cost?
The dancer's lonely ritual turned into this immense cosmic duty, completely unexpectedly. Maybe your deep dive into this ballad today is just the beginning of thinking about your own relationship with duty, with isolation, and with the stories embedded in objects.
So what does this all mean for you? Something to keep thinking about those huge themes of duty, the importance of context, and the hidden price of separation.